Hey guys, good morning. Thank you everyone for joining, or good afternoon if you're joining us from across the ditch in New Zealand. Thank you for joining us today for our webinar on the future of work with Yealink solutions for Microsoft Teams. My name is Richard Lynch and I'm one of the client managers for Generation E based in Melbourne. And today we'll be hearing from Phil Clapham, head of Generation E's hybrid workplace practice, followed by Pete Tamas, Microsoft Teams specialist from Microsoft, and finally Valerie and Rita from Yealink will then give us a bit of a showcase on a couple of Yealink Microsoft Teams solutions. Before we get into the webinar, I just had a couple of housekeeping items. Firstly, the chat box should be open for question and answers, so please pop your questions in as they come to mind, and we'll go through each question at the end of each presenter section. So like I said, the more questions, the better, so pop them in and we'll get them answered for you. Also, just for the confirmation link for the free Uber Eats voucher will be opened at the end of the webinar and provided in the chat box for you as well. So make sure to make use of that too. And finally, before I hand over to Phil, just an acknowledgement of country. So Generation E recognises, respects and acknowledges our First Nations peoples and all traditional ancestral bloodline original owners and their descendants throughout Australia. I acknowledge the Wurundjeri people, the traditional custodians of the land on which we sit today in Melbourne, as well as the Gadigal people from where Phil is presenting in Sydney. We pay our deepest respects to elders past, present, and those of the future, for they have held and still hold their spiritual, traditional belonging, lore, languages, ceremonies, memories, and hopes while maintaining continuity with their country. Without further ado, I'll hand over to Phil.
Thanks, Richard. My name is Phil Clapham. I'm the practice manager of the hybrid workplace here at Generation E. I suppose I've been a Microsoft guy most of my career, going way back. I got involved in voice technologies and then subsequently ended up working for Poly, getting an introduction to video, then into Microsoft for Surface Hub, and now I'm at Generation E, essentially running the practice for the hybrid workplace. So without further ado, let's just talk a bit about Generation E, how we've evolved, where we're going, and I'll get into some specifics around Yealink and the relationship we have and how you as a customer can leverage it. So Generation E has really been around for quite a long time, 20 years, going back all the way to 2002. There was a peachy period in sort of 2010 to 2014, and when I was working at Polycom, where Generation E were very famous for doing Link and subsequently Skype for Business installs and managing, a lot of voice. I think initially or originally they had 350,000 seats of installed voice on the old on-prem Link and Skype for Business server. So if you take a look at this this graphic that I put up, that kind of leads into the whole modern productivity story and where we are now. So taking all the services that we've deployed for our clients on-prem and moving it into the sort of modern productivity capability, which is really cloud capable, migrating SharePoint, migrating Exchange, migrating Skype for Business into Teams, and that's what we do really well. So if we think about unified communications, there's a portion of our business that's really based on leveraging unified comms, voice, I suppose Teams collaboration and Teamsifying of voice. And then there's another audio video piece as well, where we purchased a company called DRM back about 5 years ago. And we took all the AV capability in that company and merged it with our Microsoft capability. And now we've got a really strong Teams room practice. And we can still do a lot of audio video solutions as well. Now, underpinning all of this, if we look at this Venn diagram, we have to have a strong network. So we've got very good networking skills when it comes to Aruba. So that when you turn on your Teams rooms or you're doing a lot of collaboration on Teams, that we make sure we guarantee the traffic, the quality of traffic, so that everything just works. And then we've got a budgeting, security, and identity practice as well. We offer a lot of services around adoption change management. That's a bit of a passion of mine. I really love to see customers that if they purchased hardware from us, we want to be able to take them on a journey so they're actually be able to meaningfully use it, and that leads to a lot of adoption change management. We've got a practice there to be able to help customers actually do that. Of course, we've got a project and consulting service as well. Just a quick snapshot of some of the things that we're golden. I'll let you read through the list, but the graphic here is perhaps the most important. We're representing the digital the workplace, and where kind of Generation E fits into this workplace, whether it's wired networking, wireless networking, VC, digital signage, IoT, tracking, space utilization. We basically can do all of this. And that's a real advantage to have a one-stop shop to be able to do all of that stuff. We do, I'll just pull this out quickly. We've got our what I would class is our Generation E equals MC squared formula, which is you've got to obviously pick your platform at the bottom here. Once you pick your platform, in which case we're talking about Teams, again, I'll reiterate, we want to ensure the quality of the network, and then obviously your spaces. And this is where our DRM acquisition really helps, because we can help define the physical spaces for our customers. And that should lead to a particular meeting experience. But if you want modern meeting success, I always feel that you have to make sure you're adding in your adoption and change management to get your modern meeting success. So that's our little, I suppose, our formula for success. It's pretty simple. We follow that all the time. I'm going to switch gears a second and just talk about some of the things we've been seeing in the market. I'm using whiteboard to present here. So I took the time to put this together, and this is what I would call the team customer evolution. I call it the graph, you can call it the linear line, or whatever you want to call it. But typically it starts off with a customer who initially adopts or decides to choose Teams. And that's their start point there. And we've seen a couple of things, a couple of specific events that are sort of common amongst customers as they go along this journey. Now, during COVID, there was this kind of mass reaction right here where just send everybody home. We're going to send everybody home and make sure they're able to communicate with each other. So we turn on Teams, right? And there's a lot of UC, there's a lot of instant messaging, there's a lot of point-to-point video, and the shackles are off, right? It's just, everybody was in the office, now they had to go work from home. Take the shackles off, allow them to communicate. So that's a sort of organic growth into Teams, the UC portion. And then what we find is that businesses quickly realize, there's this realization stage right here, that, hey, we're creating the same sort of signal or noise to signal ratio we find in emails. So we want to overlay some compliance and governance and security, right? So maybe I can't create a team, maybe it has to go to IT, you have to give your reasons, and then the team's created. Okay, so there's some things in place to prevent the sort of mass creation, and Phil goes crazy and creates 50 teams and invites Rich and Pete, and they've got no idea why the hell they're invited to my team. Then there's the next stage, is what I call early adoption, and this is a real key one. And this is why we drive adoption change management at Generation E, because this is where we like to see an adoption framework. I personally like Adopt and Embrace's 10 Ps. There's lots of different frameworks out there, but the long, short, and the tall of it is the end result is when I join a team, my expected contribution is defined. So I know the reason why I'm joining, and therefore cutting down that signal to noise ratio. And what we're looking for is meaningful impact. So how do we, the interesting point here, this is at 30% utilization, which is usually just after that mass reaction, between mass reaction and realization, that's where we start to see hardware being purchased for rooms. Once you get to 30% utilization, that's the sort of switch where people want hardware in the room so they can have the quality of experience they would get at home. Of course, at home, it's easy for us, right? We push a button, we can join the meeting. We push another button, and we can share content. But when you go to the office, it's perhaps not quite set up like that yet. So why do we like and work with Yealink? Because look at the range. There's a solution. If it's a conference space or a phone booth, there's a solution. If it's a Teams rooms on Windows that has to be modular to be built in, up for an amphitheater, and you've got to spend a reasonable amount of money on it, there's a Teams room on Windows solution. If it's just a small huddle space, a focus area where we don't want to spend a lot of money, it might be the 95th percentile of the spaces we have. We've got 50 of them. We can put in collaboration bars. I really like this here, which is the new meeting board. I am a big Surface Hub advocate, right? And what we see is that meeting boards such as this, because they have touch capability, they drive Surface Hub adoption. The first introduction might be, hey, I need high quality audio and video on a portable device in my office, so I can make any space a VC space. But then I've got a sort of basic whiteboarding capability as well, which is a really, really cool feature to be able to hook on that collaboration portion of a Teams meeting. So I'd like to actually talk about this one as well, which is the speaker attribution, the intelligent audio devices that we see where we can put some M-speech speakers in a room and it'll attribute and transcribe audio, identifying the person that's speaking. That's a really cool feature when, if you think about it, when you're sitting in a remote meeting, it's easy to do attribution because everybody's on a separate client. But when you're in a room, here's a device that will actually determine who's talking and attribute what they're saying into transcription. That's a really, really cool feature. We should see a lot more of that. And what we're trying to lead to is we're trying to lead to an equality and accessibility state when we're in the office. Okay. We want to be able to leverage in our rooms accessibility features in Teams, such as closed captions, language translation. We want an equality of experience so that if you're in the office and you've got 3 people remote, we all share the same tools. We can all easily share content. There's complete equality. What does that lead to? Well, the idea would be to enter into a group flow state. That's the idea of the group being in the zone, where you can sit in a half hour. I got an hour meeting, right? If you can stay in that group flow state in a Teams room space or working from home for 30 minutes, I guarantee your meeting will end up finishing sooner with impactful collaboration. And that's what we want because we're all suffering from a bit of meeting fatigue. So when we think about Yealink and Generation E, we're really kitting out. We think about people being the center of experience. You've got culture, technology, and spaces. We always think of it as a people-centric type implementation and not pick the technology because it looks cool. Understand the use cases in the workflow and then pick the technology, and then you will get impactful collaboration. Now, with that, I will hand over to back to Richard, and then we will then move over to Pete. Sorry, Pete, almost forgot about that. So I'm going to stop presenting and I'll come off mute, Pete, and off you go. Thanks for listening.
Super. Thanks, Phil. Just before we go move to the next section, just wanted to open it to any questions. So I don't think we've had any in the chat box that I can see, but I guess one from me, Phil. You know, thank you for that presentation. I thought it was really insightful. But what are the biggest mistakes you're seeing with companies when they make that move to Teams? Like you said at the start, you know, a lot of it was turn on Teams with COVID. So there's a lot of things going on there, and it was a quick move. So I guess from your experience, what has been some of the mistakes or things people are forgetting when they make that journey?
Well, we need to be able to focus in our specific collaboration tools, right? And what happens, and it's not a mistake, it's more like a panic situation where people during pandemic, they kind of panicked, and now they're coming to this realization stage that the recommendation would be to have some sort of adoption framework. Like, again, the biggest tip I can give any company is teach your people to construct their teams with purpose, so that you're identifying the problem, you're identifying the purpose of the team being created, because the room will leverage all of that. The meeting lifecycle, the before, during, and after, the during portions where we use the room. If you can create a team or have people understanding how to create a team and what Richard's expected contribution to be, then I'm not going to be a member of 60 teams but only active in 3. I'm going to be active in 6 teams because I know exactly what I'm expected to do within those teams. So it's really, when you understand the fundamentals of the platform, it's easy to then leverage the room for the right reasons. That's the best tip I can give.
Yep. Absolutely. No, thank you for that. That's some good insight. Great. Well, look, we'll hand over to Pete. Pete next to talk through some of the insights he has from working at Microsoft and some background on some of the research they've done recently. So, Pete, over to you.
Great. Yeah, thanks, Richard. Thanks, Phil. That was really insightful. Yeah, good morning, good afternoon, everyone. As Richard introed me in, I'm Pete Tammis, Teams Technical Specialist at Microsoft. Over the last 2 years, we've had, as Phil mentioned, we've had obviously such a unprecedented change in the way we work. Today, I'll be taking you through some of the findings that Microsoft have discovered through research, and where we're going, and our vision for future meeting spaces. So yeah, so no doubt, as I mentioned, and Phil mentioned as well, pre-pandemic, people in the office definitely had an advantage. Work was, for most of us, was a place that we went to, and not a thing we did. Since 2020, obviously that changed a lot, as you know, everyone was sent home. The playing field was level. People. Hang on one sec, apologies. Hopefully you can see those slides now. Yes, as I mentioned, the playing field was leveled. Playing field was leveled, and yeah, everyone, look, we all were sent home. We had to invest more into our home spaces. For the last 2 years, as a team specialist, we were really helping organisations build their capacity and the ability to work effectively and collaborate from home, and you know, to sort of save the social capital that was left. So Microsoft Teams was a big part of that. Moving forward, how do we help or gain an equal footing for not only people at home but back in the office, and how do we help organisations now around that shift from, well, the pandemic has for the most part ended in terms of restrictions. Now we're looking at supporting work environments at not only in the office but at home as well, and meetings that are actually hybrid. So just a quick touch on just the evolution of Teams through this period. We're at 270 million monthly active usage or users, and you know that number is growing all the time. So they're seeing phenomenal growth, 20 times growth since 2019, and just a huge demand on our services. We've just seen a dramatic shift in our capabilities as well. So and look, Teams is where hybrid work is done today, and for the majority of customers, at least 50% of our customers have now, and worldwide customers have settled within Microsoft Teams as their collaboration platform, and then more are moving across very over time. And definitely, it is the place where hybrid work is done. So the next great disruption is what we see is hybrid work. I mean, we've had COVID, obviously has been a massive disruption. The great reshuffle, if you could call it that. There's a few catchphrases out there, but why we see hybrid work as a disruption is because most organisations today are not ready to support effective collaboration in both the office and in home environments. And as Phil mentioned, we all have meeting fatigue. Are we having the most effective collaboration devices? Collaboration experiences, and do we have the right equipment and environments to support that? So for the last 2 years, Microsoft have carried out what we call a work trend index. And some of the key themes from that is really what I'd like to take you through for the next few minutes, particularly the first three. Really what we've done is taken examples from 30,000 people in 30 different countries, and really just taking a snapshot on what are the trends in terms of what employees want, because honestly we're not all the same workers that we were 2 years ago, and what are the trends that business leaders and organizations are having to, and challenges they're having to face today. I think the first one really is important. It's really now, since COVID, we all have a new worth it equation in terms of how and where we're going to be doing our work, and what does it mean to us to actually work effectively. And look, so if you look at some of the stats here, 53% of people are more likely to prioritise their health and well-being now since before the pandemic. So I think working from home, it's really encouraged a lot of people to reassess their lifestyles. Maybe what the commute now is something that is definitely sort of put into a calculation in terms of, is this actually worth it for me? What am I going to get out of this? So you've just seen, reshuffles, and people are moving around based on their new lifestyle and their worth it equation. If you see 52% of millennials and Gen Zs are still considering an employee change in the year ahead. So that tells you that a lot of organisations are still struggling with how to support the needs and I guess the flexible working requirements that people have now. Really managers are really wedged between this and leadership expectations, mainly because we've got a problem now where a lot of office spaces are still empty. People are continuing to work from home. They do see that as being effective for them in their own lives, but organisations overall are losing social capital. They're struggling around innovation. So managers very much feel wedged in between here, and they actually feel that leadership is out of touch with a lot of these expectations from employees. But they do have problems they need to solve. So leaders really must make the office worth the commute. So look, 51% of hybrid workers are still considering going remote in the year ahead. So that also shows us that a lot of organisations are still struggling around that ability to provide those working environments that are similar. Like I honestly, if I look at even myself, I had to make my own worth it equation in terms of, if I come back into the office, well, what's my purpose? What am I going to be actually doing? If it's going to be sitting at a desk and just taking Teams calls, well, I can do that effectively at home too. So it's really around what am I going to be doing in the office? How am I going to be doing it? Is the technology there to support my ways of working? And primarily, if those ways of working are in Microsoft Teams, then we need to extend those Teams experiences from the home into the office spaces. So hybrid work is definitely the future, and it's here now, and it's not going to go away. So absolutely, we very much need and rely on our partners such as Yealink and Generation E to provide the solutions to solve these business problems, whether that be the meeting space devices, room devices, personal devices. There's a consultation that goes through that as well, as Phil mentioned. It's not just about finding the right technology and putting in the room, it's getting that sense of purpose. Well, what are we actually going to be doing in these rooms and spaces? Is it going to be effective? And is this something that I'm going to be encouraged to come back into the office and do my job effectively? So why Microsoft Teams Rooms? So Teams Rooms for us is really the center of hybrid work. We see it creating more inclusive, accessible options for meetings, for coming together in groups, being able to facilitate meetings where we're in different locations, groups of people in locations, people working from home. They're easy to use, a consistent experience. I can book a room device, I press a button, start a meeting. I have ability to use Teams functionality and features in meetings such as raise hands. I can share content. They're flexible. We have as Phil mentioned, the chart from Yealink in particular, like we have solutions for every different room type now. We have exciting new solutions around boards and mobility options with the Yealink board you'll see today, and they're secure. So we've used the same back-end experience that we've been using securely from home with Teams encrypted by default, with all transmission of data and communications, and rich management and capabilities with analytics as well. So it's really around how can you move forward here with Generation Lee and Yealink. It's trying to identify the spaces that work for you. What are your meeting room spaces? Are you going to add new spaces? And then what are you going to be doing in these spaces, and who are the people that are going to be using these rooms? What types of meetings are you going to facilitate? Then the technology just seamlessly can be added into these spaces, and you can go do multiple room spaces. An exciting new category for us is around the enhanced meeting room, where we're looking at bringing in hybrid experiences that can around intelligent cameras and audio. That are really exciting, and we'll show how Yealink are providing those solutions today. And with that, I'll hand back over to Richard for any questions.
Super, thanks, Pete. That was very insightful. Just one question from Minx. Is there any funding assistance available from Microsoft to undertake these initiatives? How can Yealink support the transition? Phil just put in a comment responding, looking for a bit more detail. Is there specific? Go on, Phil, you take over.
It's an interesting question because this is a big focus for Microsoft. So the answer is there's a lot of funding, but you have to be specific in the ask, because we can get funding for hybrid meeting workshops. We can get funding for adoption change management. We can even get funding to doing expansion workshops where Microsoft potentially may pay us to go do a room audit if the opportunity is large enough, where we can determine what Yealink technology might need to go into these spaces. In addition, there's rapid room initiative. So I don't know if you get anything to add to that, but there's lots of different funding because it's such a high focus area. Happy to discuss, but it's probably 5 or 6 different programs I can think of off the top of my head. So probably need to be a bit more specific. Pete, anything to add to that?
Yeah, no, all of the above programs have been what's available this FY, and there'll be new programs into the next financial year. And Generation E is one of our key Microsoft Teams room partners that can deliver these workshops for qualified customers. So I would advise that we go through that process to understand what you're trying to do, what your requirements are, and to see what you would be eligible for.
So I'm just popping my email address in, Minx. If you want to just reach out, happy to have a chat to you.
Super, thanks, Phil. Yeah, and look, I think, like you said there, I think it's important, just to get a full understanding of what you're requiring to do and bring everyone to the table. Yealink, Microsoft, Generation E, or whoever should be involved to have those conversations. Valerie, did you have anything to add to that? Actually, just about what your thoughts?
Yeah, I think Phil pretty much covered everything. So just on top of that, Yealink, we are actually in the rapid room as well. So, and feel free to reach out to Jenny team and Yealink team. We definitely have some very great programs here to support your business as well. Cool.
Super. Thank you. Okay, great. Again, thanks for that, Phil, Bar, and Pete. And now handing over to Valerie and Rita to take us through some of the Yealink solutions for Teams.
Thank you, Richard. Thank you, Jenny team, to have Yealink team here. Hi, guys. Welcome to this webinar. I'm Valerie. I am the country manager for Australia and New Zealand market. And my focus is on Microsoft practice. I'm from Yealink. So just a quick look on the my agenda and Rita's as well. So I will doing a bit of quick intro about Yealink, and then I will hand over to Rita to have a more deep dive on our solutions for Microsoft Teams, and then we will doing some live demo for our really cool products. So without further ado, let's get started. So I guess some of the audience today may know that we start our business, Yealink start our business as a SIP phone provider for a long time. And we have dominant in the SIP phone area many years. And until now, we are also top one in the Microsoft Teams phone area, and we are a list company. Our market capital is more than 10 billion US dollar right now, and we have more than 100 distributors to cover more than 140 countries and regions. So we're definitely able to doing global projects as well. So in terms of the partnership with Microsoft, Yealink as one of Microsoft premium OEM vendors, our relationship and partnership with Microsoft has been solid and concrete since 2015. And until now, you'll find that we have a lot of significant achievements, including we are the top one Microsoft Teams Room OEM year-on-year growth vendor. It means that we, especially in last financial year, our growth rate is more than 300%. This is very, significant growth among all the OEM vendors. And we are also the top one full range Microsoft Teams certified solutions. Later on, I will show you that we can actually provide a really one-stop solution. And just like I mentioned before, we are also top one in the Teams phone market share. The market share in ANZ is more than 60% so far. So what makes Yealink so successful? One of the key message I like to deliver is Yealink, we are proud to call ourselves as a technology company because in our headquarters back in China, we have more than 2,000 employees, and more than 50% of them are from our R&D team and engineering teams. So you will find us that we have a really, really strong resources in the developing new product and developing new technologies. So, and you can see we have a lot of labs and more than 200 patent technologies. So we are able to keep following up with Microsoft whenever they release any new features and new technologies. And we also have been backed up by a lot of global case studies. As you can see here, Yealink, we have presence in every sectors, every industries, healthcare, education, government, enterprise, etc. Just highlight one case. It's a really great win we have done recently in this quarter, actually. We have worked really, really deep with Siemens in Germany. And then we help them to deploy more than 200 rooms, 200 MTR rooms in Germany. And they are really happy with us. And now they are doing a case study with us as well. And just a quick warm up on this IEA. We're gonna, this is the largest AV exhibitions in Australia this year. So we already booked a stand there. Our booth number is D22. We're gonna display more new product there. So stay tuned and welcome everyone to come and stop by our stand. Okay, so just a really quick summarize about the advantages and what benefits we can deliver for your business. There are 3 keywords: innovative, effective, and reliable. So innovative, I just introduced a bit. And in terms of the effective, later on, Rita will deliver more messages in terms of this part. Mostly it's because our product is very simple and very easy to deploy and easy to use, just out of box. And reliable here means that we have really stable stock in Australia. Our distributor Alloy carry more than 4 months of stock in advance every time. So no stock issue at all. And our pricing point is also very key. Our product is very good value and very cost effective. And in terms of the warranty side, being as Jenny as Yealink preferred partners, so all Jenny's client can enjoy 3-year free warranty. Our default one is just 2 years, but everyone who purchased from Jenny can get 3 years warranty. Yeah. So in the next part, I will hand over to Rita to have a more deep dive introduction on the solution side. Rita, over to you.
Okay, thank you, Valerie, and hi everyone. This is Rita from Yealink, and here are our portfolio. And as you can see from the picture, Yealink can offer the full range products line for Microsoft Teams certified products, and you can see that including the desk phones, the MTR on Windows solutions, and MTR on Android solutions, and headsets and some accessories, including the room booking panel, the wireless content sharing dongle, and the wireless microphone, and so on. And today's main topic will focus on the MTR system. So let's start with the MTR on Windows solutions. Yeah. So Yealink offers the various solutions to cover meeting rooms from different sizes, from the huddle to extra large. And today, what I want to emphasize is Yealink specific camera control solutions and the multi-camera solutions and the premium brand new USB camera, US86. So I will give you some information and demo this for you later. So this is the premium USB camera USA86, and it comes with the door lens to provide a better meeting experience and 3 impressive tracking mode: the auto framing, speaker tracking, and the presenter tracking. And it also can be used in the multiple camera solutions. The key value is with these solutions, it can support up to 9 cameras. And that means you can utilize all of these cameras at the same time and control them individually through our specific camera control plugin tools. And then I will show you how it looks like and using this system to show you the tracking mode of the USA86. So all the operations are done on the touch consoles. That require a few clicks, and you can utilize all these cameras to cover different corners of the room like this. Yeah, we deployed 6 cameras in our demo room, and it looks like this. So, and you can also DIY the layout by selecting the division mode or the surround mode. I will switch it to the surround mode like this. So it's really easy to use and operate. And then I will also use this system to show you the tracking mode of the USA86. So I will change the layout at first. Just need a few seconds. Okay, now on the left picture is the USA86 image, and you can see that I'm pretty sure the presenter tracking is turned on. So all I need to do is just rest my hand over here. Yeah, and the camera will recognize me and follow me automatically whenever I'm speaking or not, actually. And the tracking speed, you can tell the tracking speed is really fast and smooth. So it's very valuable for some scenarios. You know, the presenter don't need to worry about whether he's in the picture or not. So I think next I will introduce the MTR on Android solutions. I will switch the camera back to the table. Okay, so for the MTR on Android solutions, Yealink offers the all-in-one collaboration bar for small to medium meeting room and the meeting board, a new product for small to large meeting space. And the biggest advantages of Android solutions is the easy deployment. So maybe next page, Valerie. Thank you. Yeah, and there are no cable. You can see that there are no cable crossing between the table area and the TV area. So you can just set up them within minutes. And both of them are all-in-one design, built in the microphone, camera, and speaker. So That means no extra cost, no annoying cabling, and no time visiting. So it also supports, for this product, it also supports several tracking modes like the auto framing, speaker tracking, the multi-focus framing, and picture-in-picture mode to provide you a better experience. So next, you can see that here are some Yealink exciting new products. On the left is the meeting board. We have 65 and 86 two size version, and just by simply connecting the power cable, you can the users can quickly and easily enjoy the video conferencing and the whiteboard collaborating. So it's suitable for some scenarios like the meeting room and executive office and classrooms. And you can choose the way you like the TV card or wall mode. We provide 2 ways to deploy it. And Yealink's meeting board is really easy to move around to turn all your rooms into a collaborative workspace. And on the right picture is another new product called the AIO24. As the name implies, it's 24 inches size, and it not only can be used as an extended display, but also provide a native Teams experience. And more information about this product will be released in the coming months, so just stay tuned for that. And next, I'm going to show you the meeting board function. I'm going to demo this product for you. So I will switch the camera to focus on that. Wait a second. Okay. Hi, me again. So now I'm standing in front of the meeting board, and this is the 35 size. And you can see that it integrates with the camera on the top and the microphone and speaker. So it's all-in-one design. And you can just by one click the join button to join a Teams meeting. So it's very easy to use. And if you want to share your idea with your colleagues immediately in the room, you can just click this whiteboard button and wait for a second. It will utilize the whiteboard app, and maybe 30 seconds, you can, after 30 seconds, you can share your ideas with your colleagues and cooperate with them. Okay, and yeah, there we go. So you can use this pen to write something, and the writing and reaction speed is smooth. And it also supports multiple people to collaborate at the same time, actually. So also have some tools like the ruler, some interesting tools, and the selective tool, and some like notes. You can leave a note or the text, something like that. Yeah. And if you want the remote person to see the whiteboard, you can just click here, start a meeting, and then you can call remote participant, and then they will, all of them will see the whiteboard as well. So I think that's all of this meeting board demo. If you have any questions, you can pop it in the chat box, or just feel free to reach out to us. And besides, I want to emphasize, this is a very competitive product because it have a very good price. The RP is just 6,259 Australian dollars. So I think it's a very competitive product in the near future. And let's back to the main table. Okay, and next page, I think Yealink. I want to show you Yealink also offers the various powerful business headsets as well. And the latest of this is the Bluetooth series. If you have interested in it, just feel free to contact us or Jenny. Yeah. Okay, I think that's all for my part. I will hand over to the Richard.
Super, Rita, Valerie, thank you very much. And I can definitely attribute to the headset. I'm using the BH72 at the moment, and I love it. So thank you all for that. Just a few questions have come through. I can see Phil has answered one or two of them. So Miniko has asked, can you please share which Yealink products Rita is currently using? So what's that device you're using now? It's the MVC 940, is it?
Yes, the multi-camera solutions. We deployed 6 cameras in the demo room to cover different corners of the room. Yeah.
So it's MVC 940, yes.
Yeah.
Brilliant, super stuff. And which speaker is Rita using whilst the whiteboard is loading?
What I'm using now, the microphone is the WSM34, the tabletop mic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Brilliant, super. And the last question was, is this the Microsoft Whiteboard app or a Yealink Whiteboard app? And Phil clarified that it was the Microsoft Whiteboard application,
yes,
which is also available on Windows, iOS, Hub, MTR, and via the browser. So, yeah, super. I think there was one more question. Oh, sorry, no, that was all. That was all. Apologies.
No, there is, Richard. There's one more question. Can we set up, create breakout rooms in the middle of the meeting? So that's a yes.
Sorry.
Yes, it's doable, but it would probably need to understand. The important thing about running meetings is to understand the workflow of the meeting so that everybody knows what's going to happen. If you suddenly create a breakout room and no one knows, and they've suddenly been put into that breakout room and they don't know what's happened, you could potentially get a problem. So it's possible, but we need to define typically what the workflow needs to look like. Cool.
Super. Any other final questions that have come through?
Don't see anything else, Richard. I think we're probably good. But as always, I've got my email address in there, so if people want to ask additional questions to any of us, I'm there. You can contact me directly. But if there's other questions, feel free to ask them.
Yeah, absolutely. And yes, thanks, Phil. Phil's provided his email in the link there. You can also reach out to us at sales@generation-e.co. And we can address any other questions you have there, or reach out to your dedicated account manager for support as well. So look, thank you very much everyone for joining. I hope you enjoyed the session. It's always good to get hands-on in these types of sessions, so really good. And thanks to Phil, Pete, Valerie, and Rita for presenting. And finally, also just Lillian's shared the link for the Uber Eats voucher if you want to make use of that as well. That's there too. But thank you all for joining, and see you again at our next webinar.